Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm deeply disappointed about this hearing. It was billed as an exploration of the Trump-Vance administration restoring law and order through the deployment of the military onto the streets of America. That's what we were here to talk about, and I haven't heard one Republican witness talk about that. How the military, the National Guard, has decreased crime on the streets of America. That's what this is supposed to be about. And so somebody has lied, just like Trump lied. He lied about releasing the Epstein files. He lied about putting America first. He lied about lowering cost on day one.
Mr. Johnson, if I can just interrupt for a minute. No, all our witnesses are kind enough to be here. They're not here as a Republican or Democrat. Their own views are to themselves on all. I will say for all of them, none of them are intentionally lying, and they swore an oath. So I appreciate your comments, but please move on.
I'm not casting aspersions at the witnesses. I'm saying that this hearing was billed as something that it has not turned out to be. We're supposed to be talking about how the deployment of the military onto the streets of America
This is your chance,
has lessened crime.
This is your chance.
And I think it's a fair argument for me to make that we have misled the public just like Donald Trump has misled the public. And the public, the American Joe or the average Joe on the street is feeling like a sucker now because Trump is telling them that, look, don't believe your lying eyes, prices are down. But they know that price of groceries is up, the price of energy is up, the price of their health care is up. But yet Donald Trump is telling them, believe what I say. They're getting tired of that. They looked at this drama with the Epstein files. They saw him go from doing everything he could to prevent the release into flipping at the last minute so as to save the little face that he still has because he knew he was going to lose that vote, and he lost it. Every single member of Congress, except for one, voted to release the Epstein files. And so the American people are really confused at this point. They see MAGA Republicans in the House carrying President Trump's water. They're not happy about that. And fortunately, they have a shining light to look at. Her name is Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she has started to move away from the deception, from the lies and deceit, and from the violence. And because of that, she's now being subjected to violence. But let me ask you a question, Mr. Magul, since although you've been to law school, your training has been as a corporate communications guy with the International Trademark Association, but you're here to talk about how the military has made our streets more safe. I'll ask you this question. Law enforcement is a noble profession, isn't it?
It is.
And it has special education and certification. Isn't that correct?
It does.
Specialized skills that you get from learning to become a police officer like Miss McKinney's son, and I'm so I'm saddened by your loss, and my condolences to you, Ms. McKinney. But law enforcement officers, isn't it true, Mr. Morrow, are trained professionals?
Yes, sir.
And they take a different oath than does the military. Isn't that correct?
Well, I'm not familiar with the military.
Because you never served in the military, but the military is trained to combat, to be in combat situations, whereas law enforcement officers are trained to enforce the law. So isn't it a fact, Dr. Levine, that if we have people who are trained in combat deployed to the streets of America that we're doing law enforcement a disservice because law enforcement depends on the respect and support of the people who they serve? Isn't it true that by deploying the military to the streets, we are hurting law enforcement?
I think it can be demoralizing to local law enforcement to have the National Guard come in as if they aren't capable of doing their jobs. And you're right, they're trained specifically to be policing in a
To
civilian
come in and
context.
break things up and kill people. That's what the military does, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, that's not what police officers are trained to do.
Correct.
With that, I'll yield back.
I thank the gentleman.
And before I do, though, let me offer for unanimous consent a article entitled Portland Police Chief Reveals Troops Tear Gas Protest by Accident. That's in the New Republic on October 29th. Without objection.
Without objection.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. I now recognize Dr. Onder from the great state of Missouri.